Okay, we have the green bars, we have the live counter sticking up, so we should now be live, which of course means welcome back to the Storytime Network. It is the Paradox Hour podcast, and we are here to talk about and, post-mortem My Hero Academia Act 2. So basically from, if I just get that up, start of the provisional license exam arc to the end of the paranormal liberation war arc.
So, pretty big chunk of the story, if we're being honest.
Chapter. Oh, Jesus Christ, it is! Chapter 98 to 306. What the fuck?
Like, yeah, about half of the story is this act.
What took so much time?
A few of the different, I think it's the Paranormal Liberation War and the joint, and the, whatchamacallit, the Hasaikai arcs were the two longest ones, I'm pretty sure.
It's the same amount of fucking arcs as the first act.
Yeah, but they're all much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, this is... I don't want to say this is where My Hero lost me, but this is definitely where I fell off My Hero in terms of the official stuff.
It's definitely a much more mixed bag than the first act.
And if I'm brutally honest, I think it is because of the more of the focus is put on the villains. I just don't find them as engaging. I mean, I think I've talked. I've definitely talked to you, if nothing else, but I think I've definitely talked on stream about how really do not see the appeal in Toga. I also don't see the appeal in Shigaraki. I can sort of... Darby is an interesting case, but I feel like canon makes him less so. Because I don't know, I'm sort of bringing in little impressions I've gotten from later stuff as well, but I do kind of feel like he is less nuanced than other members of the League of Villains.
Yeah. Honestly, the thing is, like, the three main members of the League are probably, like, I don't want to say the least interesting, because there's plenty of less interesting members of the League, but, like, at the same time, yeah. There's, the villains, most of the villains in Hiroka are not the best.
I mean,
I wouldn't, like, if we're doing, I know I've mentioned this before, maybe not on a stream, but we're doing, like, a tier list of shonen villains, most of them would be pretty middling, if I'm being honest. I will say All for One is one of those cases in this saga where it's like very much present absence along with All Might.
No, those two definitely take a step back.
Basically, the majority of this act.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at basically the League of Villains, post Kamino, and like Shigaraki again, I don't feel is that interesting. Toga, I've said why I don't like her. She's a yandere, and I don't, there's an element of, oh, we should be feeling bad for her because of, her backstory, but I don't really know. It didn't land that well for me.
I don't think they go into her backstory in detail until the final act.
Do they not? Oh god, that's the thing, I don't remember that well.
No, that's fair. It's been a hot minute.
I mean, Spinner's just sort of there.
There gets very little of substance until the final act. It's unfortunate because he had the potential to be very interesting.
Machina gets taken out basically, what?
Right off the bat.
Yeah, like maybe basically start the Saikai arc.
Yep. Literally only really has any role in the school trip arc.
Compress is kind of interesting with his gimmick, I guess.
But he also gets removed from the board. Actually, no, he sticks around for most of Act 2. He just is taken off the board before the final act.
Does he get taken out in Act 2? When does he get taken out?
During the Paranormal Liberation War. He, whatchamacallit? He basically uses himself as a diversion to allow his comrades to escape, and he gets captured.
Oh. I honestly barely even remembered that.
Like I said, it's been a minute.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I meant to reread basically everything in this act, not realizing how fucking huge it is, or at the very least, you know, from sort of maybe school festival onwards. Because I feel like I do actually remember a fair amount of stuff up to the school festival. Nothing else. That's sort of the point that a lot of the fan fictions I've read either, you know, stop by if they are actually following canon, or that's the point where they start sort of diverging, I would say. Which may or may not say something.
What? No.
Twice.
Like, if we're being honest, there's a lot of shifts in everything.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I feel like there was... So there was obviously... Again, I may not be remembering correctly, but this is... Certainly when it was coming out in the anime, I think, there was a slightly negative reaction to the provisional license exam arc. There was a negative reaction to Saikai arc because of how long it was. And then there was a negative reaction to the school festival arc.
Because people are basic bitches.
Yes, because people basically went, oh, it's not action, I want action. When Horikoshi gave us, how many chapters is that? Fucking 56 chapters of action, and you all bitched about it?
But yes.
Is it 46? Yeah, 46, yeah, I'm not counting properly. 46 chapters of action, and you all bitched about it. You know, I mean, that's... That is the thing. Oh, and then obviously we had the joint training arc, where people bitched about it, because it was school stuff. And that's the thing, you know, there are a fair amount of, you know, complaints that people levy at My Hero. And yet, when Horikoshi actually gives them what they want sometimes, they'll still bitch about it. Because, you know,
it's really weird.
One of the biggest complaints that people give, and it's absolutely a valid complaint, is that Horikoshi does not give enough time to the rest of 1A, and to 1B in general. We got an arc with that, and people bitched about it.
The fan base is really unreasonable, correct?
It's just, yeah. And I think that was sort of the point, you know, around this sort of point where Horikoshi, I think, realized, holy shit, this is... If I keep going at this pace, I'm going to be doing this for another decade. And I think there was a case of, again, trying to figure out something that, wouldn't get a backlash. Decided, all right, let's change tack for a little bit. Let's go with let's check in on the villains, and people. I'm not gonna say for some reason, because that makes it seem harsh when it's more me not liking it, but people liked that. And so there does seem to have been that, that shift of, okay, let's, the villains, or
I don't understand why some of the villains are popular, but like there are some cases of popularity that will never make sense to me, like Bakugo, for instance.
Wait, did you say Bakugo and villain?
No, I said I kind of understand why some of the villains are popular. I do not understand why Bakugo is popular.
Oh, okay. I thought we were jumping into a real fucking mine pit there.
No. No. Unless you want to. Don't worry about it.
I mean, this is obviously where, Bakugo gets... I mean, end of the provisional license exam was where he and Izuku had... what was it? Like
their whole big kerfuffle.
Fight 2, I guess, if we're counting Fight 1 as the one from the start. The fucking first battle trial, that's it.
Yeah.
Which, I liked. I did quite like, but I don't know, I don't think necessarily it's hard to really say, because I'm not one of the vocal Bakugo haters.
No, that's fuzzy.
No, Fuzzy absolutely does. But at the same time, I would say I lean closer to them than the Bakugo fans.
Again, I do not understand the thought process behind the Bakugo dick riders, but
I mean,
it doesn't get too bad during this act compared to how it was in Act 1, or debatably in Act 3.
I mean, yes. I would also argue this is certainly the latter bit of this arc, the last sort of third. Well, I say that it's nearly 100 chapters.
Yeah.
So latter half really. I would say is where it really does feel like, okay, the only ones from 1A who properly matter are Bakugo, Todoroki, and Izuku.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that get the focus for the agency arc. I mean, to be fair, they got a lot of the focus in the joint training arc as well. Though, along with Ida got some focus. I think Yaoyorozu got some focus, didn't she?
I think so, yeah. Uraraka also got a little bit of focus.
Uraraka does get focus throughout, but just not enough, and in a sense of it's very much focused on other people.
Mm-hmm. Namely her relationships with Izuku and Toga.
Yeah.
But yeah. The real whatchamacallit, the biggest thing is, like, some of the writing in this stretch of the story is really good.
Mm.
Like, Horikoshi does a really good job with, for example, Gentle and his stuff in the School Festival arc.
Mm.
The School Festival arc is really good and really underrated, honestly.
It is, and it's very much the start of that sort of turn in the story, of, you know, Horikoshi. I'm not going to say fully blurring the lines, but sort of definitely blurring the lines to a certain extent between hero and villain. Because I would say the only time he really did that before was with Stain, and there was a definite still border there of, well, he's killing them. That's a bad thing, as well as I feel like if you're gonna actually sort of commit to that and have, you know, Stain maybe sort of be in the right, you have to sort of show that his victims were actually, you know, shitty people.
Most of them are very much not.
I mean, we only really know two of them.
One of them was Ida's brother, who is, by all indications, a stand-up guy.
Yeah. Ingenium version 1.0, who in the main story we don't get a huge amount of, but as far as we know, he seems like a pretty stand-up dude. We get to see more of him in Vigilantes, and he is a stand-up dude.
Yeah.
And then Native, who we just get absolutely fucking nothing for, as far as I'm aware.
It would have been a lot more interesting if he targeted Endeavor from the start.
Yes. And he's another person who takes a big fucking step forward into the story in this act, sorry. For better or for worse.
I do appreciate that Horikoshi does not try to make him easily forgiven. Like, does not paint a brush over all the awful shit he did.
Arguably, I think his redemption arc, in inverted commas.
I would say it's more of an atonement arc, honestly.
Atonement arc, I think, is a better word for it, or term for it. I think it's handled better than Bakugo's.
Yeah. There are parts of Bakugo's arc that are handled well, but it's overall a lot less well-structured and well-executed than Endeavor's, I think.
I mean, Bakugo just doesn't get enough time. It's insane to say, but it feels like he never, you know, Endeavor has the pro hero arc. He's hanging around for the remedial course arc, and I'm fairly sure he asks All Might about being number one hero. So he's hanging around there.
And then Joint Training arc is heavily focused on him as well.
Joint Training arc, he has a bit of focus. Endeavor Agency arc, he obviously has focus. And then, you know, the reap what you sow moment of the Paranormal Liberation War arc with Darby, aka Toya.
That moment fucking broke the internet.
I mean, it was very much a case of, well, we fucking called that one, didn't we?
I mean, it also came at a time where everything was going absolute batshit bananas in the real world, but we're not going to go into that too much. Yes. I do think overall, though, Endeavor's stuff was handled really well, especially compared to Bakugo's, because Horikoshi does not do the thing of making him easily forgiven or making him very oh, he's not actually that bad. Didn't try to
Well, like I said, Bakugo's development is all in the background. It's the same issue in Act 1. So much of Bakugo's development is happening in the background of Izuku's story. Izuku obviously isn't hanging around with him, you know, day to day.
24/7, yeah.
Because Bakugo is Bakugo, and they have different friend groups.
Yes.
You know, a lot of Bakugo's development, you know, is definitely tied up with his friend group, Kirishima, Kaminari, Zero, Ashido, that group. And, that is... Meanwhile, Izuku's got his own group, Uraka, Ida, Todoroki, Sue, and all that lot. And so we don't... It's not at the forefront. And so when you get those big moments where he does intersect with Izuku, they feel less earned. Yeah. I'm not going to say entirely unearned, because we do still get these points, because we got a little bit of Bakugo in the Remedial arc, which was, a good sign of him changing. But, yeah, there's not...
Look, I'm all for subtlety in writing, but at the same time, sometimes you need to have stuff shouted from the heavens so that people know what's going on.
I mean, an arc from Bakugo's perspective needed to happen. For things to feel fully connected and earned, there needed to be an arc that was fully from Bakugo's perspective. Didn't need to be a long one, just an arc.
Yeah, it could have been a shorter arc, along the lines of the Pro Hero arc.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Horikoshi, understandably, considering all the health issues he's had, wanted to compress what he had left to work with. And I get that. Weekly manga is hell.
No, I completely get that. And as I said, there's a definite sort of, I would say, like I said, starting from the end of the joint training arc, there is a definite, I would say, again, I don't want to use the word rushing because it has negative connotations, but, a speeding up of the story.
Yes.
That is where the League of Villains start becoming too big to ignore. It leads into the Paranormal Liberation War arc, which is obviously a point of no return, basically. You can't go back. You can't go back to normal status quo after that.
Nope.
That is 200 chapters from the end still.
Almost, yeah.
Again, as I said, you have to wonder, Horikoshi hits chapter 200 doing the joint training arc with 1B going, am I really going to be doing all 3 fucking years? With, all of this happening, having to introduce new characters as well, with, new first years each year. Am I really willing to do that? And fair enough to him, he said no.
Again, I don't blame him.
But, as a result, things do sometimes fall off the wayside. Characters don't get much focus, and I don't think, the Paranormal Liberation War arc was obviously built to, but I would argue that it wasn't as well built to as Kamino Ward.
Yes. I do feel part of that is, the Paranormal Liberation front, as interesting as some of those characters had the potential to be, were not really well utilized.
No.
Especially in the war arc. Curious is just straight up killed during the Metal Liberation Army arc. And the others either just are beaten off screen or don't really contribute much. I think the only one who does anything is Skeptic.
And then there's, of course, Gigantomachia.
Yep.
Who off-screens midnight?
No, it wasn't Gigantomachia. It was even worse. It's just some random villain who kills her after she falls off trying to stop Gigantomachia.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, great. That was well done.
Like Horikoshi has a problem with how he handles character deaths in general,
Mm.
but especially like female character deaths, which I'm pretty sure it's been litigated ad nauseum,
Mm.
but oftentimes they're not really treated with quite the same degree of respect or dignity as most of the male character deaths.
Mm.
Like comparing Midnight's death to the death of the Night Eye is just like one of the best showcases of that contrast.
Mm. And it's the Night Eye death felt sort of necessary to show just how dangerous Overhaul was.
Not just overhaul, just showing like the dangers of hero work.
Yeah. But the fact that Midnight is such an offhand thing, it just feels like, okay, that happened. There's no emotional reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's...
Well, there is an emotional reaction. It's just like it happens after the fact by quite a bit because everything is going on at that point.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta step out for a few minutes. I'll be back in a sec.
I know we've started off the first half an hour or so being very negative about this arc, but like I said, this is an arc that My Hero Academia definitely was at some point. I'd need to reassess, but definitely was at some point. My favorite anime and manga series, and the fact that I have fallen off it in such a way is sad to me. Part of it is, I think almost burnout on the series because of just how much fan fiction I read for it. It's definitely been something I have slowed down on a lot in the last sort of two-ish years. But a lot of the time now, if I'm looking for a new fic to read, I'm not sort of... At the very least, if I'm looking for one where they are, it's not an AU where they're, regular kid sort of thing, and there's no quirks. If I'm reading one that's got quirks in it, I'm reading one where, or I'm looking for one where Izuku doesn't really have one for all. Or one for all is made more interesting. Because there's just, I think he gets this point of the story and sort of loses your focus on Izuku, who is my favorite character of the series. From after sort of the Shie Hassaikai arc, less so in the school festival, but remedial course, Izuku's not involved. Pro Hero arc, Izuku's not involved. Joint training, there's a lot more focus on everybody else. Izuku obviously gets some with Black Whip turning up. Again, another sign that Horikoshi is going, let's rush things along a little bit more here. Metal Liberation War, obviously, that's 22 chapters of just villains who, like I said, I didn't care that much about. Endeavor Agency, a lot of focus on fucking the Todoroki family bullshit drama, which again necessary, but it gets Paranormal Liberation War. The start of it, obviously the students are not involved because they shouldn't be. But then you get to the second half of that arc, where Shigaraki is... Shiga, for one, is basically, beelining it for Izuku. But, I don't know, it doesn't feel as much like the focus is there. Like I said, part of it is probably just me burning out in the series as much as anything. But there is an argument to be made about these sort of newer gen shonens, My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen, lesser extent Chainsaw Man being in the same generation, I guess. These big battle shonens that are taking a darker tone, and that's not massively my jam. Again, it's something that I think I've talked about on the channel before. The world is dark enough as it is. I don't need darkness necessarily in my fiction. My hero definitely takes a turn for the darker in this act. Even in something like in Act 1 with the Hero Killer arc, there was still an air of hopefulness to it, whereas this is very much the as to be expected. This is the Empire Strikes Back. Is Act 2, and it does end on a downer note. I mean, I'm honestly thinking there is a certain but yes, it definitely takes a turn for the darker from basically the school festival arc onwards, I would say. Joint training arc is really that sort of weird spot of Pro Hero arc. Definitely is, on the darker side, given how fucked up Endeavor gets, and
I'm back.
I'm just talking about how part of my issue is that I do think I burnt out on the series at some point. If nothing else, just because of how much fan fiction I fucking read for it and still read for it.
Right.
I'm definitely reading less of it now, but I'm still every so often will go through a few fics. I think I said on what fucking day was it now? Wednesday morning for me, knowing that I didn't have to. I had a free day basically to myself. Basically went, oh hey, a fanfiction that I really like got updated a couple of hours ago. I'm gonna read it, and then I read the entire 56,000 word thing in 2 hours.
Holy shit, dude.
It's a very good fic. It's about Izuku getting danger sense first, and you've got the fucking vestiges as the Greek chorus.
That sounds fun.
It is. It's really fucking good. It's really good.
Speaking of the danger sense and all that, it is funny how he basically gave Izuku bits and pieces of Spider-Man's power set, in addition to, a couple other things here and there.
there is a definite sense of escalation, and you wonder just how much, or sort of, because I'm trying to think, when did the various powers for the previous users get revealed?
So Black Whip was the first one, and that was during, I believe it was joint training.
Joint training arc, yeah. But were the
Then
powers
it
not
was-
actually introduced before then?
They were not.
They were
to
not.
my
Okay.
knowledge.
Well, yeah. I mean, then it is just Horikoshi engaging in a Spider-Man dream.
Yeah. I mean, there were hints that the vestiges, there was more to them than, just...
Hmm. But again, there is a definite sense of escalation from that point, because obviously Izuku gets Black Whip and gets told, "Hey, you're gonna get more powers," and
I
does
think once he develops the next are Float and the Danger Sense.
gets them Paranormal Liberation War,
Yes, both of those are Paranormal Liberation War, if I remember correctly.
and then obviously Shigaraki gets Shiggy for one.
Which, goes badly for everyone, including Shiggy.
So, and at that point, you basically, I mean, even before Shiggy gets his all-for-one backseat driver, he gets the upgrade to his quirk, which basically sort of breaks the power system.
I do think it is bullshit that Horikoshi was like, hey, he has physical enhancements that aren't quirks.
Again, it's going back to what we were saying of there is a definite sense of escalation, and Horikoshi going, I don't want to be working on this series for another 10 years. I'm gonna speed things up a little bit more. I say as I'm not actually sure when Meta Liberation Army arc started, and therefore has he been working on it? No, it can't be. The whole series is only 10 years long.
Yeah,
that's right, because it was 2014. But I was so part of it is burnout. Going back to what I was saying. Part of it is just there is a definite trend with some of the shonen, some of the battle shonens of My Hero's generation. You're talking about, well, My Hero, obviously, Jujutsu Kaisen,
Black Clover, and Jujutsu
Chains-
Kaisen are the other big ones I can think of.
Black Clover I'm not including in this because I would argue that it doesn't do this, but Jujutsu Kaisen definitely, Chainsaw Man obviously from the start, it doesn't really change anything, but neither does Jujutsu Kaisen, to be fair. But there is a definite trend towards darker content.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll repeat myself for your benefit, Jack. The world outside my fucking flat is dark enough as it is. I don't need it in my fiction.
You know what? That's fair. Are you familiar with the term hope punk?
No.
So it's basically like, the aesthetics and stylings of punk, like cyberpunk,
Yeah.
Steampunk, all that, which, tend to be pretty gritty genres, a little bit on the cynical side oftentimes, and basically infusing it with a lot of just hope and a sense that things will eventually go well. Things will eventually, there is a ray of sunshine that will shine brighter by the end. I do think Hirohaka leans a lot more into that than, say, Jujutsu Kaisen or Chainsaw Man, which are much darker series than Hirohaka, if we're being honest.
No, they are. And part of the issue is we are talking about Act 2, and again, I will...
Which is, Empire Strikes Back. Basically.
Exactly what I said. It is Empire Strikes Back. We know 100% how much of a Star Wars fan Horikoshi is.
Man loves his hands, including cutting them off.
So it is not exactly a shock, let's say, that Horikoshi has followed similar plot structures to Star Wars, the original trilogy. Wow, he really did, didn't he? Jesus, I'm starting to actually think about it now. All Might didn't quite get Obi-Wan at the end of Act 1.
Did.
Functionally did. Obviously,
We've
got Empire Strikes Back type ending
for Act 2, yeah.
For Act 2. And then, again, don't want to go too much into Act 3, especially considering I do not know that much about it, because I've only gotten up to, I think, the end of Dark Hero arc at best.
Which is honestly a really good arc.
Again, I'll come back to that, but, you do have, Izuku Skywalker going up against Darth Shigaraki and Emperor All For One.
It's funny. All For One has much stronger Darth Vader aesthetic than Shigaraki does.
He does, but it's not his place in the plot. Anyway, so
no, exactly.
But yeah, Dark Hero arc goes back to, and it being slightly better, or definitely better, comes back to sort of what I was saying. There is a definite shift of focus from Izuku during Act 2.
Mm-hmm. The focus is a lot more scattered, especially post, I want to say post-school festival, really.
Post-school festival, yeah. It sort of starts with Remedial Course. Again, it's a short one, but, that one definitely focuses more on Todoroki and Bakugo. That's
kind of the arc, and it's a short arc.
So. It is a short arc. School festival, yes, absolutely on Izuku. Pro Hero arc.
A little bit of secondary.
Yeah. Pro Hero arc, obviously, all on Endeavor. Joint training arc, Izuku obviously has his thing with Shinso and Black Whip, but that is at the end of the arc. Otherwise, everyone else gets some, let's be real, much needed screen and page time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to Meta Liberation Army, which is 22 chapters of no Izuku. You go to Endeavor Agency arc, which is 11 chapters of the latest episode of the Todoroki family drama.
Yeah, keeping up with the Todorokis.
Keeping up with the Todorokis. And then Paranormal Liberation War. The first part of it is obviously, Izuku and the other students are in the background, as they should be. Because you don't want the kids involved in that shit. And then they get involved in that shit, because of course they have to be. But again, doesn't necessarily feel like Izuku is as much the focus in that. And it's not really character work from Izuku.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this is where Horikoshi, I feel like, has almost fallen off a little bit. Earlier arcs were the battles, I feel like, were less choreographed and obviously shorter, but done better from a character perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Act 2, they definitely go more towards a, bigger and more extravagant choreography at the expense of that character work.
Look, not everyone can be Oda and do both. I know, there's only a handful of mangaka I know of who are really good at striking a good balance. Oda is one of them. Toriyama did a really good job. Say what you will about his characterizations work, but man knew how to choreograph a fight and make it feel like it was in character. Whereas, most other mangaka can't really strike that balance very well.
No. And again, because it is rushing through this, it again falls as we've been saying with Bakugo, to a lesser extent with Endeavor, I still think it applies to Endeavor, but certainly to a lesser extent because he does get that much more focus on him during Act 2, and definitely to the detriment of Izuku, Shoto, Uraraka, and the other 1A kids. Falls into that same sort of trap as Demon Slayer, of just going arc to arc to arc with not enough sort of character work in between.
I do think we don't need to relitigate all our criticisms of Demon Slayer here because we've gone into plenty of depth.
No, I think at this point you've either heard us talking about it before, or you figured it out on your own, because it's not exactly hard to figure out on your own. But
it doesn't. I don't feel like this series has quite the same level of that problem that Demon Slayer does. Partially because it has a much larger cast and runs into the cast split problem that a lot of other battle shonens do.
But I'm thinking back to it. Arguably, Metal Liberation Army arc is a big example of this, because it's what flashbacks for Shigaraki, Toga, and to a lesser extent Twice.
Mm-hmm.
And in between that is just fighting.
Yep.
And so, I mean, obviously there isn't development for them because they arguably don't go through development.
Well, no, they do go through development. They just get worse as people.
Which is development, to be fair. It is development.
Yes.
But it's also arguably...
It's like basically an embracing of their worst selves, almost.
But arguably, then, it's development in the wrong direction from what the story is really trying to get at. Because again, the point of the Paranormal Liberation War in particular, but Act 2, this is definitely the second half of Act 2 from School Festival onwards, is very much, as I said before, that blurring of the line between hero and villain. The heroes are not all paragons of virtue. The villains are not all evil psychopaths.
Mm-hmm.
But in having the League of Villains basically go, all right, we're gonna stick to being terrible people here, even with our, it leaves the tragic backstories doing a lot of heavy lifting to make them, sympathetic, and in the vast majority of cases fails. I would argue the only time it really succeeds is Twice, who gets ganked in the Paranormal Liberation War arc by, I would say, a character who, as much as I like him and I like the idea of him, I think causes a lot of these problems. Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, Hawks is pretty well handled for the most part. Like, of the pro heroes introduced during the pro hero arc, I do think Hawks and to a lesser extent Mirko get most screen time and the most, emphasis on them. And they're fun characters, don't get me wrong. I do kind of wish there was a bit more to them, though.
I mean, as I said, I like Hawks, I like the general idea of Hawks, but I think he is the sort of poster boy example of that change in direction for my hero that I don't really like. Because he is the poster boy for, hey, Hero Society is not good. Look at how not good it is.
It is a flawed thing, yes.
These villains might have a point when... Yes, they might have a point, but... I mean, this is something I feel like Horikoshi addressed as well as the issue. Because you go back to USJ when Shigaraki monologued at All Might. And, Shigaraki brought up good points about Hero Society. And All Might was like, bullshit. You don't really believe that. You're just here to cause chaos. And Shigaraki was outright like, got me. I'm here for chaos. Yeah. And it's just like, well... that I feel like would have worked. But no, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we do get most of Toga's backstory here, and it does paint her as a very sympathetic, a fairly tragic figure. And same with Shigaraki's backstory, which is one of the most fucking brutal ones I've seen in a shonen manga, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the thing is, like, there is a way to handle a character doubling down on their worst impulses, but, like, it's very difficult to keep that character sympathetic when you do so.
Yeah.
As you said.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would imagine the point was to try and use that as the sort of split point. You've got the League of Villains out here deciding to become worse instead of, actually working to try and, improve things. And you've got Endeavor, who is obviously, to a certain extent, the other side of that coin, deciding to try and better himself for the sake of, his family and society.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes.
I do appreciate that.
Both of those resolutions sort of come at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
Because they both come before Paranormal Liberation War.
I do appreciate, though, that Endeavor does not get off easy and does get absolutely fucked over by the events of the Paranormal Liberation War.
Yeah. No, it's fine. But as I said, these are the League of Villains getting worse, endeavoring to get better. I had to do it.
Yes, I know.
Both developments, I feel like that should have happened in Act 3. As a result of the Paranormal Liberation War.
I mean, at the same time, a lot of the actions that the villains take during the Paranormal Liberation War don't make as much sense if they're not already starting to double down.
I feel like
also,
I feel like there is definitely a way you can write it that makes it
There is a way, but as written,
especially if you do have Twice die.
Yeah.
I think if you have Twice die, especially having it be as a result of Hawks.
I mean, they do have the bit where at least it causes Toga and I believe Spinner and Dabi to a lesser extent kind of spiral a little bit following the events of the war arc, but that's more like later Act 3 stuff.
Like I said, if you actually have, likes of certainly, Twice, Spinner, even Toga, as much as I dislike her, you can have her on the sort of good side of things. And I would say Shigaraki, sort of leaning towards, is, going all out evil really the right move? And then have the heroes attack. Especially if you're led by an Endeavor who, as I said, has not at this point decided to better himself. And is just, pushing to defeat the villains as brutally as possible.
I do think though that like the reveal has much more impact because Dobby reveal has much more impact because Endeavor is actually starting to turn over a new leaf at that point.
Again, though, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it. As I said, I do feel like it sort of weakens Darby as a character in that sense. That he is. I don't know. I really don't know how to. I don't know how to word it properly, and I don't know exactly what I'm trying to argue.
That's fair. Also, we are not professional writers or critics, so
I'm
I
trying
don't
to
know
be a
if we are.
professional writer, but you know,
Same, but like that's
it's hard, and my brain isn't 100% right now. Not to mention, this is stuff that, as said, I've, the events of a fair few of these arcs. The last time I've read through them was fan fiction, and other stuff I just haven't read for a while. Though I do at some point want to get onto the good stuff, because there is absolutely good stuff in this act. Mostly from the first half, if I'm brutally honest, but I'm still want to discuss it.
Yeah.
But as I said, I personally think it would have. I personally think it would have worked better. Obviously, what the fuck do I know? I'm some schmuck sitting in a flat in Scotland. Not the fucking mangaka who's worked on it for what would have been like 10 years at this point for the whole thing, but 6-7 years or whatever it was before that. Horikoshi had this. Maybe Horikoshi had this all planned out. I'm not sure. And this is definitely what he wanted to do. And I don't think this turn into a darker dark tone is what makes things, it turned me off a little bit more, but obviously got more people more interested in the series. The writing is still good at several points. It falls off in other points, yes, but I don't think anybody has ever argued that Horikoshi is the perfect writer. And that everything is done as he has tried to do has worked. Because I think, even me as at the height of my fandom as a very staunch defender of My Hero, I think even I was like, yeah, Horikoshi fucked up with these bits.
Like, there's a lot to be said about like having a character reveal that they're trans and dying like within the same chapter.
Yeah. I choose to be just glad that Horikoshi has included trans characters at all.
I mean, to be fair, there's another trans character who is a pro hero who is awesome and survives the series, so
yeah,
that's good.
As far as we know, Tiger might die in the epilogue arc. We don't know.
That'd be fucked up.
It would be fucked up. That would be supernatural levels of shitting the bed with a queer character.
Yup.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of timing. I need to give me a second.
Take your time.
I want to check something.
Are you looking up specific arcs or something, or like more broadly?
I'm looking up when volumes were coming out.
Ah, okay. Yes. That makes sense.
That is definitely interesting.
I remember you being volume only for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you watched the anime as well, but
I mean, I fell off the anime basically near the start of the Paranormal Liberation War arc.
mm-hmm.
Where are the movies? Maybe OVAs? Probably not. There, theatrical films. Theatrical. It's interestingly timed because the point where I started to semi fall off of My Hero with, fucking, whatchamacallit, Meta Liberation Army arc.
That's when the second movie came out, isn't it?
That's just what I was getting to. The volumes for that came out February 4th, 2020 and June 2nd, 2020.
Oh,
and
dang.
Obviously, the second My Hero movie, Heroes Rising, came out in the UK end of February 2020. It was one of the last movies I watched in cinemas before the pandemic really kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
Say one of,
what's funny about...
because I'm fairly sure I watched Weathering with You after that. But my point is, I really fucking hated how that movie ended.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
the worst part is most of the movie is really good, too.
90% of the movie is stuff that I absolutely fucking loved. Absolutely fucking loved.
Unfortunately, the final stretch is not.
Then you've got fucking Izuku giving One for All to Bakugo.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot state enough how much I did not want that to happen.
Mm-hmm. I can see why Horikoshi eventually abandoned the idea for the manga proper. Like, apparently that was one of his possible ideas for the manga ending, and at some point, probably pretty early on, he abandoned that idea.
But, the fact that was even almost an option was kind of upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to me, is, not really, as I said, not really a Bakugo hater.
The thing to keep in mind, though, as a writer, you and I both know, we come up with ideas that we think are interesting in the moment, or cool in the moment, and then we actually take a moment to think about, and we're like, you know what? This is a bad idea. Let's not do this.
But as I said, I do just find it interesting, the timing of all that. I wonder if that did have an effect subconsciously. Because I'm almost certain it didn't have an effect consciously. I'm almost certain of that. But subconsciously, I'm honestly not sure at this point. Seeing how close together that stuff was happening, seeing that that was a potential ending for the series, and then seeing the focus that the villains were getting. I'm honestly not sure. Yeah, I honestly don't know.
But as you said, we should talk about the positives of this stretch of the manga, because
let's talk about good things. Yeah,
we did mention the whole Endeavor storyline was very well handled, especially compared to how most authors have handled such matters in the past.
I mean, fucking Kishimoto didn't even bother with Orochimaru.
Fucking hell.
Orochimaru
Everyone's
never got a
favorite
redemption.
war criminal.
Orochimaru never got a redemption. He just started turning up, and people were okay with him for some reason.
Yeah, even though he's like one of the most monstrous characters in the series, and also the only confirmed canonical LGBT character in the franchise. God fucking damn it, Kishimoto.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other examples, honestly. Are there ones from Bleach?
Not that I can. No, Aizen doesn't really count. Aizen's still a bastard and treated like one. Well, not if we go outside of the manga sphere. There's so many examples in classic fiction.
But either way, the fact that Endeavor actually admitted that he was wrong and actually started to improve himself, that's good. That is good.
And it's also not portrayed as like something simple and easy.
No, I do really like how they handled it with Shoto as well, of his turmoil of how to treat Endeavor, and that that big old Totodeku moment that came in the Endeavor Agency arc. I'm obviously going to approve of that. But even going away from Endeavor, who is obviously a thorny subject for good reason. I liked the provisional license exam arc. I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a good arc.
I think it introduced some interesting characters.
I do like the whole inter-school rivalry aspect that never really comes up again, unfortunately.
Again, an element of the rushing through.
Again, I wish there was more focus on the school stuff rather than like the hero stuff, at least for most of the series. Like, I know it would be mean to ask Horikoshi to, write more when it clearly fucked up his health to write so much. But
But God, I'm blanking on his name. Wind guy.
Oh fuck, Yo something.
I'm remembering the name vaguely. I'm just not putting it together. Certain parts.
Inasa.
Inasa, that's it. Inasa. What's his first name again?
I don't fucking remember.
Sorry, I know, but I need to check something. I need to check
Inasa Yoarashi.
Yoarashi, that's it. I knew it was Yo something, and Asa something. I knew it was something like that, but I couldn't remember 100%. But yes, Inasa is interesting, especially with his connection to Shoto. Shindo is a character who got kind of wasted in the arc as it was, but I thought he was kind of interesting as a sort of darker mirror to Izuku. Yep. I think the fact that Todoroki definitely, but Bakugo failed the exam. I thought that was interesting. And then obviously we do get Bakugo versus Izuku part 2, which again really fucking good, I thought.
Yep.
And then obviously we fucking meet the big three. The big three are great.
Yeah, the big three fucking excellent characters.
I mean, obviously we got fucking one of them on the screen right now, thanks to you, Jack.
Yeah, Mirio was my favorite for a while.
Good old Mirio Togeda, Neijire, and he probably would like that I can't remember his name, but Tamaki, that's it, Tamaki.
Yeah. Good old Sun Eater.
all three interesting characters, and that brings us into Shie Hassaikai and the internships, and I genuinely really liked the Shie Hassaikai arc.
It's a good arc.
Again, we said that people complained about it for being too long and too fight heavy, and when I was reading it, I was like, I don't really agree. I'm enjoying myself with this. You get a Kirishima fight. You get 2 Kirishima fights, 2 good ones. Unfortunately, Uraraka and Sue kind of get sidelined for the actual raid, but even they get to do some stuff on the outside with Nejire and Ryukyu. And the stuff with Eri is, I think, really well handled. Obviously, people were worried about how what Eri's power would do to the series. Again, I thought they handled it quite well up to a point where, again, Horikoshi said, "No, I don't really want to be doing this for longer than I have to. So yeah, Eri's gonna bring back Mirio's quirk. It's just gonna happen."
I mean, at least it makes character sense.
It does. It absolutely does. And it meant that we got to see, 100% Izuku.
Which was excellent.
What a fucking terrifying prospect that was.
Dude, that whole bit in the anime was just absolutely incredible.
Can't remember the name of the fucking animator now. Cube guy Nakamura.
Yeah, Yuichi Nakamura.
Yuichi Nakamura. It's not Yuichi Nakamura, is it?
Oh no, I'm thinking of the voice actor.
Yeah, that's the voice actor. I was gonna say, there was just a moment of me. Wait, what? You can't be here.
We can just literally look up a Sakuga blog, and I'm sure the guy will have a whole.
Give me a second, because I've got a fucking AMV of his stuff, so I've just got to go to my playlist and go down to the bottom and find it. Yutaka Nakamura. That's it.
Yutaka Nakamura. That's it.
Yeah.
He has his own tag.
Yeah, of course he does. But yes, Yutaka Nakamura. He fucking, again, going from that fucking Sakuga AMV I've got of his stuff, he loves to animate basically like feral Izuku. And it's great. Feral, super OP Izuku, and I'm all down for that. So yeah, no, I was happy to see that. Night Eye was an interesting addition while he lasted, obviously. Yeah, I like Shie Hassaikai. I do.
It's a fun arc.
I think there is a question about whether it's too much escalation too early, sort of thing. And does feel like kind of a response to the complaints about the licensing exam being sort of too low key after Kamino. Again, it's a similar issue to what the MCU was facing after Endgame. After, this build-up and this big moment, unless the series actually ends, of course we've got to bring things back down. You can't keep things at that level and then keep increasing them as you go. You've got to bring things back down. That's just how storytelling works. And that is how a 3-act structure works.
That's the escalation of stakes is how you get the worst of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, and the worst of Naruto.
Yep.
But people just don't think about it that way. They just want, ooh, big fight, big fight, big fight. Oh, why are they in an exam? Oh, I don't like that. I also, and this may be unkind for me to say, wonder how much of people's dislike for Shie Hasaikai being because there wasn't any Bakugo.
That might be
And it being a very Izuku focused arc. Because obviously we know there are people who, for some weird reason, don't like Izuku and adore Bakugo.
Yeah, those people are weird.
Look, I don't mind if you like Bakugo, go for it, have your favorite. If you then team it with, oh, I don't like Izuku because he's not more like Bakugo, go fuck yourself.
There's such a thing as having characters who are different from one another,
Yeah.
as it turns out.
Or they'll go, oh, why wasn't Bakugo the main character? Because Bakugo would have sucked as the main character.
Yes, exactly.
Bakugo as the main character is how we get Sasuke. Do you want Sasuke? No.
No.
You don't want
Sasuke
Sasuke.
sucks.
No, they do want Sasuke, don't they? They obviously want Sasuke.
Mhm. It's funny. Hiroaka started up around the time that Naruto ended. You weren't thinking about that, were you?
No, I try and keep Naruto out of my mind as much as I possibly can, if I'm honest.
Understandable. Have a nice day.
Otherwise, I'll go into rants too often.
Again, understandable. Have a nice day.
And then School Festival was really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why people didn't like School Festival. It was good.
Because people are basic bitches who only like action.
But when they get action, they still complain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it.
Hiroaka has to have one of the most unpleasable fan bases I've ever encountered.
Yeah. I also kind of wish Bakugo wasn't part of the band.
I mean, I get it. We have the stereotype of the angry, wild drummer, so he fits that image.
But I feel like at that
Yes.
point, there's too much of fucking, there's too much of, oh, Bakugo is perfect.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Actually,
Wasn't it the reason, like, he plays drums because it's his anger management thing now?
I don't know.
Because if it was, that would have been funny.
Going by the recap on TV tropes, apparently he went to music classes when he was younger. Attitude caused him problems and it went nowhere. After all, the drummer's job is to provide the beat to support the other instruments, but now he's had some hard-earned character development and he's willing to play with the band. Ugh. You know, I've had another thought about Bakugo. Part of the reason his development doesn't feel as earned necessarily as Endeavor's, there's nobody really opposing him. There's nobody on the sort of Shoto front of I still kind of hate him. I don't know if I should forgive him, sort of thing. Because
Izuku's way too fucking nice for that.
Because Izuku is too nice. As much as I love him, he is too nice in that sense. And that's sort of why I wonder whether you should have had at the very least Shoto, if not Uraraka as well, maybe even some other maybe even the other members of Class 1A, find out about Bakugo's past bullying Izuku.
Yeah, the most we get of that is him apologizing to Izuku at the end of the Dark Hero arc, but that's
But I think, especially if you're doing that alongside Endeavor's stuff, especially with Shoto. I feel like you can create parallels there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have, obviously Izuku forgives Bakugo because of course he does. But Shoto looks at that and is like, I don't know if I can do that sort of thing. That kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe my brain is rotted by fan fiction. Which
Your brain is absolutely rotted by
absolutely
fan fiction,
is, but whether it's on this thing is it rotted by fan fiction? I don't know. In general, it's 100% rotted by fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that would have worked?
Maybe. It's hard to say, especially, like, we have the benefit of hindsight as well.
Yeah.
What I will say about this arc is that Gentle is one of the best arc antagonists of the series.
Yeah, because he's got a genuinely interesting ability, and, not OP ability, like a lot of the fucking villains previously have had.
Yeah, well, Stain was also an exception to that, because his ability was only situationally powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, I really do like that, Gentle has just a really basic ability that he has mastered extremely well.
Yeah.
Like, it can be very powerful when used properly, but it's because he's good at using it. It's like Stan's. Except, the overpowered time ones. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatchamacallit? Gentle's really good. His dynamic with La Brava is also really good.
Yeah.
I do like the whole concept of, like, villains streaming their petty crimes and getting so much hate on in the comment section for it. It's very funny. Horikoshi was very clearly ahead of his time in that regard.
Just a little bit, yeah. But again, it's a fight that is interestingly choreographed. It's not about who has the biggest bang stick.
Yeah, especially because Izuku can't go all out for a number of reasons. Not least of which would is all the broken bones that would be involved.
But they just now have air bullets. Which, I think is an interesting upgrade.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And then obviously we have the end to that arc, which is, the band,
the concert
performance,
yeah.
And Jesus Christ, that moment where Eri actually smiles and Mirio is so happy.
It's absolutely beautiful,
especially in the anime. Then obviously we have Pro Hero arc, which again I think is well done. Obviously the fight is good. But it's obviously a lot shorter as well. It's 8 chapters.
Yeah, Pro Hero arc is real short. I think it's only a dozen. It's not even a dozen chapters.
Yeah, it's 8 chapters. It's 184 to 192.
9 chapters.
9 chapters.
Yeah.
Whatever. Close enough. Close enough. Yeah, and then you have joint training arc, which it's really cool to get to see. All the other characters getting to do stuff, especially 1B.
Yeah, it is really nice.
1B has some really interesting quirks and personalities. I like getting to actually see guys like Fukidashi and Kurahiro actually get to do stuff.
Yeah, it's really neat. Too bad there's not more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's still a fun time.
I'm gonna leave you
like
to talk about the good
various
points
team
of.
dynamics.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you to talk about the good points of Meta Liberation Army.
For one, I do think it is interesting seeing like the classic villains being the underdogs fighting against other villains. That kind of dynamic doesn't really get explored a lot. But when it does, it's usually a case of, oh, this is like when they're teaming up with the hero of the story for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's not a common dynamic that gets explored all that often. What's also really fun is the fights are very interesting. They're very well choreographed, and they have a, I wouldn't say nuance to them so much as a dynamism to them that you don't see all that often. Partially, in no small part, because the both sides in these engagements are willing and eager to kill their opponents. So there's a level of lethality that you don't really see all that often.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really interesting stuff. And it's also compounded by the fact that we get some interesting backstory on the villains that humanizes them more than makes them sympathetic, I'd say, honestly. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. And we have gone over, like, a lot of the details of the arc already. Some of the bits are not as well handled as others, but the whole idea behind the Meta Liberation Army is also really interesting. And I wish there was more done with it after this arc. Unfortunately, there's not, really.
Yeah.
But yeah. But honestly, going over the next arc is also interesting.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously the next step in terms of the actual next step on the hero's journey for the big three of Class 1A.
Not to mention, like, the next step in Endeavor's Atonement arc.
Yeah. And, you know, basically the Chekhov's gun for Toya.
Oh, I didn't mention about the Pro Hero arc. The fight with the high end is really fucking good.
Yeah.
It's especially well done in the anime, between the animation and the music choices.
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean, dub-wise, Patrick Sides gave a fucking fantastic performance in that fight, if I'm remembering correctly.
Doesn't he give a good performance?
Fair.
But yeah, no, he knocked it out of the park with that one. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, the Endeavor Agency arc has the hilarious image of Shadow, you know, starting conversations with people with the various parts of his tragic backstory.
Was it during the Endeavor Agency arc or the Pro Hero arc that showed it just the whole slurping noodles?
I believe it's Pro Hero arc, because it's after he comes back with the scar.
Right. Absolute passive-aggressive win for him.
Oh no, sorry. It wasn't that he starts conversations with that. It's that it's that when Toya is brought up, and you know Izuku is like, "Huh? I didn't know you had another sibling," and Fumi is like, "You didn't tell him?" Shoto's like, there wasn't a good time to bring it up, and it's just like, but there was a good time to bring up your abusive childhood and parental issues.
There are many things you could accuse Shoto of being. Socially gracious is not one of them.
Yeah, he's really not socially gifted, for good reason, but it's very funny to me.
I do feel like Shoto has some of the best character work in the series.
Again, because he actually gets attention put on his character stuff.
Unlike, was it 3/4 of Class 1A?
And Bakugo to a certain extent. Like I said, there's just, for me, there's just not enough attention actually given to Bakugo's struggles to
Better himself.
Yeah, to better himself, to really, make it properly work. I think how it's done is still pretty decent for, for a shonen redemption / atonement arc, but it could have and probably should have been done better.
Yep. Then there's the Paranormal Liberation War, which is a lot.
Yeah.
There is some good stuff in that arc. The whole Doppy reveal is brilliantly executed. I do like the whole conceit behind Hawk's old yellow ring twice. And honestly, it does introduce an element of grayness to the plots as well. And, Hawks does have a good rationale behind it, putting down twice. Because, as we clearly see from, the meta arc, a couple arcs prior, Twice can change around a battle very easily, just on his own with his quirk.
Yeah.
Which, would go very badly for the good guys very quickly. But yeah, but all the battle dynamics are also really good. But there is the whole thing of, as we mentioned, Shigaraki's whole thing in the arc is very mixed. There's a lot of shenanigans as well. Sorry, getting a lot of background noise here.
No, it's alright.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in the arc, but, at the same time, it's mostly about just absolutely destroying the status quo more than anything else.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
I get it. I get it. The status quo needed a shake-up, and, all shonen series at this point have it. I'm pretty sure most of them are riffing off of Marineford at this point, because it's this big, epic conflict that just shakes up the status quo and leaves everyone reeling. And unfortunately, none of the other authors are like Oda, so they can't pull it off as well. I think the one author that did the best since then is probably Tabata with the Elf Resurrection arc in Black Clover. That one's probably the best handled I can think of.
Even then, it has serious issues because...
It has issues, but they're nowhere near as glaring as, say, the Paranormal Liberation War of Shibuya.
I would say it has... I'd say it has fewer issues overall. It just has one big one that really brings it down. Which is...
I can agree with that.
Which is the introduction of... the
word devil.
Yeah, the word devil as the overall villain, like basically
Mm.
90% of the way, 95% of the way through the fucking arc.
Yeah, no, I get that. Again, it's still better than a lot of other attempts at this. And
Mhm.
honestly, while Paranormal Liberation War is a fairly mixed bag, there are positives to it.
I mean, Miriko's stuff at the start is pretty fucking great.
Oh yeah, no, Mirko is fucking awesome. Like, her going absolutely fucking ham is just a sight to behold.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, that's really good stuff. Yeah, yeah, the whole initial raid part of the arc is excellent, and God, I wish we got more Mirko. She's so fucking great.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we are not so lucky.
Mhm.
The funniest thing too is that Horikoshi said that he loved drawing her as well, which is just
Mm.
yeah.
Oh, that's something we haven't really talked about. The
What?
Kurogiri stuff.
Oh right, yeah, that's a weird one because like a lot of the Kurogiri stuff is actually handled in vigilantes
Yes.
or some
Yes.
vigilantes.
But is Kurogiri prominent in Act 3?
He comes up kind of. To say more would be spoilers.
Right. Because there's obviously that, the reveal that he is, or at the very least his body is, Shirakumo, Aizawa, and President Mike's old school friend. And then, certainly in Act 2, nothing really happens with it.
It only really pops up in Act 3, but I won't say how or
Right, okay. I'm glad it
Go
does
into
pop
detail.
up in Act 3 at the very least.
yeah. No, it comes up. But yeah, it's definitely an odd thing to just like drop that in the main manga without like going into any detail about the details.
I mean, I kind of like that they did it that way, because it does mean that, Vigilantes is definitely a part of the canon.
Mm-hmm.
And Vigilantes is very, very good, even if it does have its own issues. Like, Vigilantes is still a series I would seriously recommend to people. I wish it honestly came up more in the main series. I think I said in one of our anime streams, it might have been the spring wrap up.
Maybe.
And this is obviously getting into Act 3 stuff, but I think Captain Celebrity showing up would have been better than it being Stars and Stripes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about was there were several cool moments in the Liberation War arc, and one of the best ones was best Genus Big Damn Heroes moments.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there were
there were a lot of Big Damn Heroes moments.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly.
best Genus came back, Mirio came back, Bakugo had his first near-death moment.
And also the whole unveiling of his hero name, which is fucking hilarious, honestly. Such a silly name.
It works, though.
It works. It works quite well, but, like, it's so fucking silly. Exactly kind of name you'd expect from McShooney.
Yeah. I mean, put it this way: the two other options that I've seen people give to him before that was revealed were Ground Zero, obviously, and just outright going with Kachan.
See, Ground Zero is there are issues with that one that I should not need to go into.
Yeah.
But yes, still really interesting stuff there, and
I mean, that's the thing,
it's silly. It's
Yeah,
just silly.
it
I'm
is.
sorry,
but yeah,
but it's the right kind of cheesy silly, I think.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think we are winding down to an end here. Yes, we've been probably more negative for Act 2 than we were for Act 1. And we definitely have been talking about the negatives more than the positives. But this is, still a very good set of arcs from My Hero. Obviously it's something that works more for some other people than it does for me in particular. I mean, I know you, Jack, were really hyped about the Liberation War arc. While I sort of, struggled to get into it. There's also an element of, I am absolutely planning to once My Hero wraps up, I'm not gonna reread the entire series because that would be insane, especially considering how many times I've basically gone through that at the very least, the first act of My Hero via fanfiction. But maybe starting from Paranormal Liberation War and going from there and finishing the series from there and seeing
the
how
series is going to be over in like a month.
Yeah. But
wow, think about it, honestly.
Seeing how I feel about the series after that. I will say part of it probably doesn't help that because I am for most of my reading of My Hero was a volume reader. I got spoiled on a lot of stuff. Which probably affected how I felt about it. Because when I did get to it, I just didn't get that feeling of, oh crap, what's going to happen next? I had the Derby reveal spoiled for me.
To be fair, most everyone on the internet did.
I've had a bunch of other stuff spoiled for me, to the point where, I have a decent idea of what happens in Act 3. I obviously don't know particulars, but I know, the bare bones plot of it.
I mean, how much talk there was about it. It's hard to avoid it.
Yeah, which, kind of sucks, but...
Yeah. Is what it is.
Yeah. This is more in general, this is not just My Hero focused, I do in general think this, but I do wish people would just actually think about other people when they're talking, if they've read the leaks and they've read the scanlations, actually think and before they just start shouting spoilers into the ether.
I'm going to just repeat the first part of what you said. I really wish people would think more about other people before they did things.
No, I mean, in general, that is absolutely true. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to end it. We're obviously 15 or so minutes before 2 hours, but...
we don't need it to be 2 hours.
Yeah. I don't think there's much point in just sort of dragging it out too much longer, but So yeah, that's Act 2 of My Hero Academia covered. Do we actually have Act 3 on the schedule?
No, because
We don't
it's not
exactly.
over yet.
Yeah, we don't exactly know when it's going to be over. But once it does finish properly, we will put it on the schedule. Fairly soonish, I'd guess. Basically, as long as it takes me to fucking catch up.
Mm-hmm. And again, the manga's gonna be over soon.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's everything. So thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. In terms of future stuff, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday as always. Okay. Please do give us a follow here on Twitch and all that YouTube stuff.
Like, subscribe, comment down below, bell icon, etc.
And otherwise, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for whatever it is we might be doing. Good night.
Later.